and welcome to my sacred space. My name is Angela and I'm the Spiritual Witch. Today I am going to be talking to you about the sacred circle. This is a deeper look into the circle. I'm not going to actually show you how to cast a circle, but there are tons of videos here on YouTube that can definitely show you the way. There are talented practitioners who have made those beautiful videos. So today what I want to do is I want to give you a way to sort of power up your mindset when thinking about the symbology of the sacred circle. In my mind, all the elements, whether it's tools that we use for divination, things that we place on our altars, or the elements, or any of those beautiful things, I like to take you deeper. I want you to become the circle, and I'm going to share some ways in which you can do that. These are all things that have helped me in my practice. Let's get started. I've got some notes here, and I do want to start by saying that everything that I've shown so far on my channel regarding the elements, water magic, earth, air, and fire magic, those are all things that I have talked about before, showing you how to get very intimate with that specific thing. When you do that, it creates a certain up level in your psyche that subconsciously comes online when you begin to either cast spells, or if you're in a situation where you need to tap into magic and you don't necessarily have all the tools and stuff. So that being said, most people, when they think of witchcraft or things like that where you would even use the circle, it's going to be used in ceremony. It's going to be used to set up a sacred space or to create a space of protection. Now, a lot of witches, some do cast circles and some don't. It's absolutely completely up to you and what resonates with you, what makes you feel the most powerful, the most connected and in tune with your magic. Circles have been around since literally the beginning of time. So imagine back in the beginning of time when they were looking up at the sky and they see this brilliant sun and they see the moon, and those were circles. And so maybe they felt that, by these giant beautiful things in the sky, that in turn meant that creating a circle here, in their space would give them some knowledge, some sort of connection. In history as well as everyday life, we see things that represent a circle. Our planet is round, our eyes are round. There is the medicine wheel, there is the yin and yang symbol. In essence, I think that when we think of the circle symbology, it represents no beginning and no end. It's just a constant cycle. You can think of the seasons, there's never really a stop point. It's just you see the changes within the circle of the year. It represents completeness, wholeness, unity and infinity, energy protection, inclusivity, and the collective consciousness. Those are some things that I wrote down here when I think about the circle. So yeah, it's basically our universe and everything in it. So Egyptians, Romans, and Greeks, as well as Native Americans, all used the circle to symbolize different things. Whether it was the wholeness of spiritual goals, or like I said, for protection or unity, or to just represent the never-ending cycle that is life. So the one thing that I want to impart to you today is I invite you to think about the fact that you are always encompassed within a circle. And you can think of the circle as you're the microcosm in the macrocosm that is this brilliant, beautiful, magical universe. You're right here, and at all times, you know, if you set up, if you cast your circle in a very official way, or if you just sit here like as I am right now, I have a feeling of being completely encompassed in a circle. We emit the energy within us at all times. It's going out, and I don't think of it as moving away from our bodies in a square fashion. It's in a, you know, it's in a circular fashion. It moves out. The absolute most important element in a circle, whether it being cast or whether just thinking of yourself in your day-to-day life, the most important element in the circle begins with you. However, I'm going to give you some ideas on how to look at it a little bit differently. And yeah, so the first way to build this relationship with the circle is to actually create the circle. You can do this by either physically drawing the circle or energetically. And with the physical drawing of it, you can mark out this space with candles, with salt, with cloth, with a rope, with a string, however you choose to do it. The way that I like to do it is just energetically. So I just step into my space. I energetically imagine this circle being out onto the floor. You can, if you feel that you want to go ahead and cleanse or protect the space, you can go ahead and use incense or any other type of cleansing tool that you use in your regular practice. Now the idea here is to go into the circle and just get quiet for a moment and begin meditating. And in the meditation, it's all just about just calming the mind and clearing the thoughts, or not clearing the thoughts. Meditation doesn't have to be, you know, confusing or complicated or look a specific way. It's just the idea of you sitting centered in this circle. And as you begin to calm your mind and realize that you are in this space, this sacred space, because the fact that you're in it already creates that sacredness, in my mind anyway, I want you to begin to contemplate what the circle means to you. And that can be all of the things that I've mentioned before. It could be just some things that I wrote down here. You know, start with thinking about the fact that the circle represents the microcosm, which is you, or which is our planet, and you're the microcosm of the macrocosm, right? As has been said. And you're surrounded by, within the circle, you're surrounded by all of your allies, your ancestors, those who have created the circle since the beginning of time, have created this energy and this massive magic, I think, that already exists within the circle. Your guides are there, your angels are there, all of your ancestors are there. And the way that I think of it when I'm sitting in circle is that every single person that came before me, all of my loving and path trotting, creating, whatever ancestors that came before me, they're energetically fanning my life force. So think of it like that. You know, you're sitting in this sacred circle, and imagine all of these ancestors and these allies and all the magic that's ever been created in this circle, in this universe, on this earth, you know, is surrounding you. And believe it or not, regardless of what kind of situation you might currently be in, if it's a not so good one, the truth is, I believe, that we're all meant to succeed. We're all meant to be the best that we can be, and the wholeness that we came in as. And so the circle gives you a space to start thinking about these things and to realize that whether you can see, I mean, if you're into magic and if you're into witchcraft, obviously you know that these energies exist. But this just enhances it even more, you know, sitting in this space and taking a few quiet moments to understand that you're constantly being the flame that is you, that is your essence, is being fanned all the time by the ones that have come before you, you know? So, yeah, you're the center of your universe. And when you sit in this space and you call in this energy and you start to think about it, it builds the power within you. You know, you start to clear the mind and realize that things are so much bigger, so much more beautiful, and so much more expansive than the little problems that we come in contact with, on a daily basis. So, some of the things that I think of with the circle, I wrote down here. This is actually really cute. It's a lesson that I've given to my children even. One of the ways to think of the circle is like I drew it here. So imagine this circle, and then I have I think, is it the directions? Yes, I have the directions, and it's also kind of like the face of a clock. So this little star is you. Here's your circle. You're in the very center. And like I mentioned before, just imagine all of the beautiful ancestors that came before you, all the magical practitioners, all the magicians and the shaman and all those beautiful people who see you as a presence on this planet to be doing good and to be building, restoring, I should say, not even building, but restoring yourself to a completeness within your mind and building your energy. So anyway, so I've told my kids, so imagine up here is 12 o'clock. That's the very top, or it is the direction of north. And then down here you see is the south, and then we've got, is that west? I'm backwards, west and east. So when things are absolutely beautiful in your life and you're looking up and things are great, I tell them to always, I don't tell them when they're happy. I don't want to let them know that inevitably the circle it's going to turn. It's going to constantly turn. We're always, round and round and round as it goes. And so the 12 o'clock position is usually you're on your game. You're doing it. Everything is wonderful. But inevitably, things are going to cycle through, and eventually you're going to end up at a low spot, which is the south, or, when you hear people speak of things going south, that's kind of what to think of, or the 6 o'clock position. And I tell my kids, whenever there's a problem in their life, or whenever there's whatever, to understand that they're at the bottom, they're at the bottom, but as the wheel turns, so will their mood, so will the situation, the circumstance, what have you. And they're going to just rise back up to this top position. And it's always going to be this way in life. The thing that I like to think of, and the way that I've built my relationship with the circle, is to understand that at the top, when things are going great and beautiful, this is a status and a space of grace. And that's looking at everything and understanding that you're in a time of plenty and things are great and wonderful. Make sure that you honor that time, and make sure all times, honestly, but that's a space of grace when things are just feeling good. As things trickle around and you end up at the low points in life, those times are to focus on allowing and accepting and integrating. So, the 6 o'clock position on the wheel or the circle is just as, I just realized this little thing looks like my hair sticking out. It's not, it's just my little thing. The 6 o'clock position is just as important as the north or the 12 o'clock position. And that's because every time that things take on a negative spin for you, that's actually a lesson. There's a gift in that down spot, and that's what I try to teach my kids too, is what's being shown to you, what's the lesson here, and don't rush to get out of it. Understand that the wheel of the year, the wheel of time, the constant rotation has its own time, and you're supposed to stay in that moment, accept it and integrate it and learn from it before, because inevitably, like I said, it's going to turn. Things will get better. They always do. And so when you can find that grace within yourself to have grace at the top as well as the bottom of that circle, you being in the center, then that's only going to add to your magic and the magic that is your life and the magic that is you. So I don't think it's just I put down here honoring the rising and the setting sun. We don't get sad when the sun sets. We need it to set in order for sleep and rest and restoration. The rising of the sun is honored just as well. Unfortunately, I just lost my brother. He just passed away, and that's another part of the cycle and the wheel of life, is the beginnings and the endings. And it's about honoring the beginning of the circle and the ending as well, because there's such a lesson in all of it and in both, in all cycles. Some ways that I also have for you to maybe sit in the circle and create a relationship with just that space is form your circle and use it as an inner child boundary, a safe space. Now, a lot of us are dealing with trauma from our childhood, and we are showing up in life based on our trauma and the things that have hurt us in the past. And I find that sitting in circle space is a beautiful time to understand, like I said, when I mentioned our allies, our angels, our guides, all surrounding us on the outer edges of that circle that is our energetic space, that is actually the enhancement of what's at the core of our being. It's a space of protection. It's a space of going back and honoring that inner child that maybe needs to be seen or heard. So finding that, what am I trying to say? Creating that boundary for the inner child in a circle, in a space where you can meditate on this specific trauma or whatever. I also wrote down here that it's a lovely, lovely space to color, honor your inner child, color. I have a drum that I absolutely adore using in my circle space. You can dance. Dancing is, that is such a release, and it's such an energetic build. And if you dance within this circle, you're only building your own personal magic. So another way to look at this sacred circle and to become closer with it is to use the correspondences. Honor what the directions represent in your life. So for instance, as I showed you the circle before, you've got the north and the south, the east and the west. So get as detailed as you want. Become that sacred circle. Ask yourself what your true north is. What are your goals? What are the things that lift you up and pull you up to the sky? What are the things that enhance your life? What is your direction for the north? And then also to even get deeper, the north represents the earth. How do you feel the most grounded? Where do you need to ground more? If you look at the east, where the east represents air. So where are your thoughts? How is the east direction in the circle showing up in your life? Are you very, head in the clouds, or are you taking time to actually be contemplative and thinking about things? Most importantly, putting yourself first and thinking about ways to enhance the beauty that is already you. And then onward to the south, south representing the fire. Where is your fire? Connect really with that direction of the south. Or, like I said earlier, when you're at your lowest point, when you're at that 6 o'clock position, how are you dealing and handling with problems in your life? Or, the down times. What lessons are you being taught? Where are you right now on that wheel, on that clock? Are you feeling more at the top? Or are you feeling on the lower end of things? And then on to the west, Where are your emotions? West symbolizes the water, and it represents the emotions within us. So yeah, that's another way to connect more more personably with the directions and with the circle itself. Yeah, the other way is to think about boundaries, to contemplate boundaries, because you've already stepped into your circle. You've created this space that is just for you, that belongs to you in that moment. It is your boundary. So ask yourself how you're showing up for yourself and other people. Are you setting boundaries? Are you too closed off? Should you kind of create a doorway in that circle and let other people in? Another way is to think of being centered and staying balanced with the turn of the wheel. You can use the space within the circle to raise and release energy. So this a good way to go about raising and releasing energy is through breath work.